From Neural Newscast, this is Deep Dive, exploring the moments that shape today.
Welcome to Deep Dive from Neural Newscast. I am Victor Hale, and we are stepping into a day where the heavy weight of history meets the sharp edge of innovation.
And I'm Thomas Keene. Today is April 27th, and we are looking at a date that holds a somber record, one that is often overshadowed in textbooks, but remains the deadliest maritime disaster in the history of the United States.
It is a story of homecomings cut short by a tragedy that many have forgotten. On this day in 1865, the steamboat Sultana exploded on the Mississippi River, just north of Memphis.
The details are staggering from an engineering perspective, Victor. The Sultana was a 260-foot vessel with a legal capacity of only 376 people. But when it left Vicksburg, it was carrying over 2,100 passengers. It was packed literally to the point of instability.
What makes it even more heartbreaking is that most of those passengers were Union soldiers. They had just been released from horrific conditions in Confederate prison camps like Andersonville and Cahaba. They were sick, exhausted, and finally heading home just weeks after the war had effectively ended. The pressure to move these men was high and driven by pure greed. The federal government was paying $5 per soldier, and the boat's captain, J. Cass Mason, was anxious to secure that contract. Despite a leaky boiler that clearly needed to be replaced, he ordered a quick patch job because a full repair would have meant losing the passengers to another boat. That decision proved fatal. In the early morning hours near Memphis, that patched boiler gave way. The explosion tore through the ship in the middle of the night, throwing hundreds into the flood-stage Mississippi River. It is estimated that between 1,100 and 1,800 people died in the cold water. It remains a chilling reminder of how negligence and overcrowding can lead to catastrophe. Even today, it stands as more lethal than the sinking of the Titanic in terms of American lives lost. Yet it remains a footnote for many because it happened as the nation was still reeling from the Lincoln assassination. While that event was a failure of the era's technology, the 19th century also gave us one of its greatest innovators on this same day. In 1791, Samuel Morse was born, a man who would eventually shrink the world. Morse is a fascinating figure because he didn't start in science. He was actually an accomplished painter, famous for his portraiture, before he turned his attention to the electric telegraph. He was driven by a personal tragedy, the death of his wife, and the delay in receiving the news of her illness. That personal loss led to a global revolution. He gave his name to Morse code, and for the first time in human history, information could travel faster than a horse or a train. It fundamentally changed how legal, financial, and government systems functioned across the globe.
Speaking of cultural shifts, we have two very different musical icons sharing this birthday. First, we go back to 1951 for the birth of Ace Frehley, the original lead guitarist for Kiss. He was known as the Spaceman for his alien persona and those theatrical smoking guitar performances. He brought a specific kind of energy and visual storytelling to rock and roll that influenced generations of performers to see music as a total spectacle. And then we move to 1988 with the birth of Lizzo. She is an absolute powerhouse in the modern era, not just as a singer and rapper, but as a classically trained flutist who has brought that instrument into the mainstream spotlight.
Thomas, her impact on the industry through hits like Truth Hurts and her vocal advocacy for body positivity has redefined what a pop star looks like in the 21st century. She has successfully blended technical musical skill with a very modern, necessary social message. From the development of communication to the evolution of pop culture, April 27th has seen incredible human achievement. But nature also has its own records, and they can be just as impactful as any human construction. That leads us to our fact of the day, which takes us back to April 27th, 2011. It was the most active tornado day in modern recorded history.
The sheer scale of the 2011 Super Outbreak is difficult to grasp. In a single 24-hour period, 216 tornadoes touched down across the United States, carving paths of destruction across the landscape.
The entire 4-day outbreak produced 360 tornadoes across 21 states. The loss of life was severe, with 348 people killed, and the damage was estimated at over $10 billion.
I remember the reports of the EF5 tornado that devastated Tuscaloosa, Alabama. From an infrastructure standpoint, it forced a massive reevaluation of emergency warning systems and building codes in the South, proving that we are always learning from the environment.
It is a day that reminds us of the fragility of our systems, whether they are steamboat boilers on a river in the 19th century or modern cities in the path of a supercell storm.
Indeed, a day of profound loss, but also one that birthed the pioneers who helped us speak across the world, and the artists who give us a reason to listen.
Thank you for joining us for this look at the history of April 27th. For more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world, visit deepdive.neuralnewscast.com. I am Victor Hale.
And I'm Thomas Keene. Deep Dive is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. Explore history every day on Neural Newscast.
This has been Deep Dive on Neural Newscast, exploring the moments that shape today.